We need it for the second.
4.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through now.
3.
All the international stories in the folder, go to
2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
1.
From the Grill to Morant Point, News Talk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world, it's all captured on the 93 radar. 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. Real News at 5 starts now.
Good afternoon. Time for the 5 o'clock news roundup here on News Talk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Coming up in this newscast, Private Sector Organization of Jamaica calls for hospital and ministry officials to be held accountable for the deaths of 19 babies.
Damian Crawford says he will not apologize for his political approach.
Superintendent denies suggestion of a cover-up in Tivoli.
And a Tivoli inquiry reveals that gunmen from Grandspen may have been killed after demanding part payment for defending Dodos.
And now the news in detail. The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, the PSOJ, is adding its voice to calls for hospital and ministry officials to be held accountable for the situation leading to the deaths of 19 babies. 2 senior officials at the University Hospital have already resigned, but there continues to be calls for people to be sanctioned at the Health Ministry and the Cornwall Regional Hospital. PSOJ President William Mafood says transparency is needed in addressing the outbreak, adding that people must be held accountable for the deaths of the babies. Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson has resisted calls for him to resign, and Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller has indicated she will not ask him to do so. Meanwhile, last week, Chief Medical Officer in the Health Ministry, Dr. Marion Bullock-DeCass, indicated she has no intention of stepping down, although she has come under pressure for her late response to information sent to her regarding the outbreaks.
Member of Parliament for North East Manchester, Audley Shaw, says the recent outbreak of bacterial infection at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James and the University Hospital of the West Indies in Kingston was due to a lack of resources. He was referring to a recent audit conducted and handed to the Health Ministry in August.
To reference even the recent outbreak, the infectious outbreak in the neonatal intensive care units and the resulting death can be traced back to lack of adequate resources to ensure adequate sanitary conditions and so on. For instance, at a public meeting last night in Maypen, I actually read from sections of the actual health audit report.
He reveals some of the findings of the audit.
One of the most damning things here, because of an apparent shortage of aprons, these aprons in the NICU are supposed to be disposable. When a parent uses an apron, what was happening is that they were being reused. They hang them up back at the front. And another parent comes in to put on the same apron and goes to another baby. So confirm.
Shaw says there was also the reuse of disposable instruments and materials which pose a health hazard.
Another issue was the reuse of disposable instruments. You know, that could be needles, all kinds of things, which the report said that they were sterilized, but they were not sterilized in an adequate way. So first of all, disposable instruments are not supposed to be, but they were reused.
Member of Parliament for North East Manchester, Audley Shaw. He was speaking on First Start this morning with hosts Dr. Imani Tafari Ama and Sharon Hay Webster. Health Minister Dr. Fenton Ferguson has said he first became aware of the Serratia and Klebsiella outbreak at the hospitals on October 16.
Meanwhile, there is a growing online movement for the Health Minister's resignation following his comments in Parliament last Tuesday that the 19 premature babies who died in 2 of the island's major public hospitals due to a bacterial infection were not babies in the real sense. Using a variety of hashtags including hashtag preemies are gifts, hashtag Fenton must go, hashtag fire Fenton, hashtag all babies matter, and hashtag all babies deserve a fighting chance, a Facebook community called Island Mom Group has been urging parents of premature babies to post their photos with signboards bearing the message that all babies, premature or not, matter. The online movement says all moms and dads are saddened, hurt and angry, but most of all, everyone is fed up with the situation. It says it is time to take a stand, and this is just the tip of the iceberg with the issues of the country's leaders when they belittle the children.
Meanwhile, statements made by the health minister in Parliament last Tuesday are attracting more condemnation from medical doctor and family physician Dr. Garth Rattray. He's calling for the health minister to resign over his handling of the deadly infectious outbreak in the health sector. Dr. Rattray says if Dr. Ferguson remains in the position, it would show that the Portia Simpson-Miller administration is choosing politics over policies. Dr. Rattray says Dr. Ferguson's controversial comment that the babies who died in the outbreak were not real babies because most of them were born prematurely shows either a lack of knowledge or extreme insensitivity. He says the slip, for which Dr. Ferguson has issued an apology, suggests that the authorities have little regard for the lives of newborns.
Education Minister Ronald Thwaite says while nothing can be done under the present regulation, there will be a policy in the future to remove principals and teachers whose schools perform poorly in Caribbean Secondary Examination Certificate (CSEC) exams.
Under the present regulations, nothing, because they are tenured and they cannot be removed except under the most extreme circumstances, poor results not being one such. And this, of course, is a defect. It's been with us for generations, and it is the settled intention of government to see that changes.
Mr. Thwaite says it is important for teachers to be accountable and to add value to their students' lives.
I believe it is essential for a teacher to be accountable, to add value to their student's life. Mr. Higgins, if a teacher gets a student who is reading at grade 3 when they're teaching grade 7 or 8, and the teacher is able to bring that student to a level of grade 5 reading or math, that teacher has added value. And although that student may not get a distinction or even take the examination, they're worthy of their remuneration. All of us in the education system add value by what we do.
The minister says a special program for schools with poor passes in the CSEC exams will be set up.
What happens, though, is there is a study program now that is called a turnaround program, Mr. Higgins, for those schools. We have to go back behind the schools because the main reason why the results are so poor has to do with marginal literacy and numeracy for those students who are admitted to those schools.
The education minister also makes some suggestions for students who are just starting the first form in high school and calls on teachers to implement a reading and assessment policy.
I am insisting that the first term, or however much is necessary, however long, when you go to high school, assess your students and do the remediation there. Do not go along with the curriculum for grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, and then throw up your hands when nobody can perform creditably at grade 11. There has to be a program of continuing development for those teachers who are tenured there and who, in many cases, simply cannot teach the materials that are required for the exam.
Education Minister Ronald Thwaite speaking on the evening edition.
People's National Party PNP Member of Parliament for St Andrew East Rural, Damien Crawford, says he will not apologise for his approach to politics. Crawford was addressing party supporters at a PNP mass rally in Anotta Bay, St Mary yesterday. He said that he has been criticised for his focus on education, but he will not be stirred. The minister says he is not sorry as most schools were taken off the shift system. He says he believes every child should have equal access to education. Crawford lost in his bid to represent the People's National Party in the next general election in a selection exercise last month to businessman Peter Blake. Blake polled 217 votes, while Crawford managed to pull 166.
You're listening to news on News Talk 93 FM. It's 10 minutes after 5. A police officer testified today that he was informed that gunmen from Grants Pen, St Andrew, who had gone into Tivoli Gardens to defend Christopher Dudus-Coke, were killed after demanding part payment. Superintendent Everton Tabana said the information was given to him by a woman inside Tivoli Gardens after members of the security forces took over the area in May 2010. He said the woman told him she was glad that the security forces were there because their presence had put an end to the stupidness, quote-unquote, that was going on in the community. According to Tabana, she reported that the men from Grants Pen were promised a payment of $50,000 each to defend Coke, and that the men demanded part payment while there and were all killed. However, when Tabana started to give evidence of this, Commission Chairman Sir David Simmons interrupted and pointed out to JCF lawyer Deborah Martin that this was not in the senior cop's statement. Simmons called it an ambush and a surprise, but Martin took issue with the description. During Tabana's relaying of his conversation with the woman, Simmons asked him to give her name and address, but he said he didn't take her name and doesn't know her address. He, however, noted that he had told now Assistant Commissioner of Police Winfroy Boudou and other senior officers about what the woman had said.
And Superintendent Tabana has denied a suggestion that he left important information out of his statement to cover the illegal actions of his men during the May 2010 operation to apprehend Christopher Dudus Coke. Williams Panton, an attorney for the Office of the Public Defender, suggested to Superintendent Everton Tabana, that he left out of his statement the fact that his men had been conducting searches in Tivoli Gardens. Panton also suggested that Tabana's team had detained civilians there. The senior police had earlier testified before the inquiry that he never received any report that his men had murdered any civilian in Tivoli Gardens. He said the only time his men fired their guns was at the train line along Industrial Terrace when they came under fire from the gunmen in Rasta City.
A correctional officer has been withdrawn from duties after his gun went off at the Kingston Public Hospital, the KPH, today, resulting in the injury of a patient. Head of the Kingston Western Police, Senior Superintendent Cornwall Bigger-Ford, says the officer was guarding a prisoner when the incident occurred. He says the patient suffered injuries to his arm caused by fragments from the bullet. According to SSP Ford, the injuries are not considered serious. The senior policeman says the Jamaica Constabulary Force regrets the incident and various support services have been made available to the victim and his family. An investigation is underway to ascertain how the gun went off. Meanwhile, SSP Ford says the incident could trigger a review of gun protocols for officers guarding prisoners at the hospital.
Meanwhile, the Kingston Western Police say they have stepped up their manhunt for the prisoner who escaped from their custody at the Kingston Public Hospital in September. According to a police source, it has been almost 2 months since the suspect, Nicholas Drummond, escaped from police custody. However, the police are adamant that they will continue the search for the suspect, who is linked to the July murder of Police Constable Lyndon Barrett. Police reports are that Drummond, otherwise called Tiki Dollar, is one of 3 suspects in the murder case of the policeman. After being on the run for several months, he was captured early in September during an operation in downtown Kingston. He, however, managed to escape 2 days after he was captured. The suspect was taken to hospital for medical treatment when he escaped. It is understood that he ran from the hospital onto the nearby Luke Lane.
Head of Crime Stop Jamaica, Prudence Gentle, says no one has yet come forward to take up the $500,000 reward for information leading to the return of popular photographer Nikita Thomas and his cousin Dwight Brown. The reward was offered more than a week ago. 37-year-old Thomas, who operated Nick Photo Works, and his 42-year-old cousin have been missing since Monday, October 5. They were last seen in Cassia Park in St. Andrew. And Gentle says the $300,000 reward remains uncollected in relation to the fire at the Riverton landfill in St. Andrew. That offer was made in April for information leading to the arrest and conviction of person or persons involved in starting the fire at the dump. The police had said that the massive fire, which covered more than 100 acres, was set by arsonists. The Crime Stop head says the agency is still hopeful that someone will come forward with information. The fire at Riverton in March lasted for over 2 weeks and impacted several parishes. The blaze also forced a delay in the sitting of this year's Grade 6 Achievement Test.
Sativa Jamaica has made another major step in their ongoing relationship with the University of the West Indies Mona campus, UWI. The medical research company held its first continuing medical education CME seminar on October 15 this year, during which Sativa's Chief Medical Officer, Jack D'Angelo, delivered a lecture on cannabinoids and the management of multiple disease states. Sativa is focused on advancing the study of marijuana and its efficacy in the field of medicine. In July, the organization initiated construction of the world's first facility dedicated to medical marijuana research at the UWI. And in news from the region, a 52-year-old Trinidadian man has been ordered extradited to Canada to face 54 charges for several offences, including murder and kidnapping, which he allegedly committed almost 10 years ago. Chief Magistrate Marcia Caesar Ayers ordered that Septimus Neverson, also known as Christopher David Monroe, Richard Murphy, and Septimus Samuel, be returned to Canada to answer the charges. Neverson is accused of murder, 3 counts of attempted murder, 4 counts of kidnapping, 6 counts of attempted robbery, 13 counts of breaking and entering a dwelling house for unlawful purposes, and 27 counts of robbery. The offences, which involved several victims, are alleged to have occurred in 2006.
That's local and regional news. For international news, we join the BBC.
BBC News with Nick Qureshi. The German carmaker Volkswagen is facing new claims of cheating in emissions tests. US regulators say the company's luxury brands Porsche and Audi were fitted with devices designed to give false results. Volkswagen has denied the allegations. The Russian airline, whose plane came down over Egypt on Saturday, killing all 224 people on board, says it has ruled out pilot error or a technical fault for the disaster. But the head of Russia's Federal Aviation Agency said the remarks were not based on facts. The Vatican says a priest and a former employee have been arrested on suspicion of leaking confidential documents to journalists. They were both members of a commission set up by Pope Francis to help reform the church bureaucracy. European election observers have criticised Turkey's parliamentary elections, alleging violence and restrictions on freedom of expression. A Council of Europe spokesman said Sunday's polls, which gave the governing AK party an emphatic victory, were free but not fair. The Russian military says its aircraft have targeted Islamic State militants around the Syrian city of Palmyra. The Defence Ministry in Moscow said the raids destroyed an underground bunker and anti-aircraft artillery. President Obama has signed into law a 2-year budget without which the government could have defaulted on its debt by Tuesday. Mr. Obama said the deal reached last week by Democrats and Republicans put the government on a responsible path. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board has confirmed that wreckage found on the seabed off the Bahamas is that of a cargo ship which went missing last month during a hurricane. 33 crew members were on board. And Israeli animal lovers have been outraged by a proposal to deport the nation's stray cats and dogs. The agriculture minister had suggested the idea as an alternative to Israel's current efforts to sterilise strays. BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and Newstalk 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall and this is the news in the Jamaican language. The Jamaica Labour Party JLP so an audit to been done in the public healthcare system shows that the Ministry for Health been know about the outbreak of disease at the neonatal unit at the Cornwall Regional Hospital from August. Ardisha, where the opposition spokesman Pan Finance been attack at one JLP rally in a Maypen last night, and him say when the audit team been go at the Cornwall Regional Hospital, the outbreak been go on at the neonatal unit. Him said the Ministry for Health get the audit report in August, and him say him have one copy of the report. But Dr. Fenton Ferguson, where the Minister for Health, said him know about the outbreak at the UE and Cornwall Regional Hospital on October 16. The Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, are going to do some training in a Port Maria and some place in a St. Mary from Tuesday, November 3 to Friday, November 6, 2015. The JDF are tell the people them are living in the community, so them not afraid if them see the soldier them, and them now go bust no gunshot in the community neither. Them ask the people them for not trouble the things them, we are going to help the soldier them with them training. On top of that, the JDF say if people them find nothing for the soldier them, they must call the JDF on 960-8776, and if them have no question about the soldier them in the community, them can call too. News from the rest of the Caribbean. The Pan American Health Organization PAO so if women have better access to ultrasound and other radiology service, this would have cut down on the amount of women who dead when them give birth and the amount of newborn baby were dead across the Americas and the Caribbean. According to PAO, 16 women dead every day in Latin America and the Caribbean from problem them have when them pregnant or when them a give birth, and 250 baby dead every day before them reach 4 week old. PAO said most of them problem they could have fixed with early ultrasound image. Them released the information after 19 baby dead at the University Hospital at the West Indies and the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Jamaica. News some foreign. The two French pilots run from Dominican Republic for no go prison for 20 years for carry cocaine in the country get locked up at them yard. The pilot them run from Dominican Republic on October 25th, although the court tell them to stay in the country until them hear them case again. The 2 months so them never know the private plane where them been a fly been have 26 suitcase full of cocaine. The lawyer for one of the man them accused about the way police lock up the man this morning. China top family planning board I want the couple them in the country so they must continue follow the country one picnic in our family policy until the law change in March. The government say March next year them are going to change the rule and make couple can have 2 picnic. Them say them have to do this because most old people in the country right now and them need to support the country economy. But right now them expect them say people must still stick to one picnic to a family until the law change. My name is Kadeen Marshall, and that's the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and New Start 93 FM just get the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by News Talk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. With your 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM, I am Michaela Drama Johns, and we begin with football. Tonight's Monday Night Football in the Registrar Premier League RSPL will see Montego Bay United MBU FC have kickoff versus title holders Arnett Gardens FC. The fixture, to be contested at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in St. James, is set to begin at 8:30 p.m. MBU lead the tables with 17 points from 8 games, while the holders have 13 points from as many games and sit 5th. Yesterday's action, meanwhile, saw second-place Portmore United fail to go atop the tables provisionally after falling 3-0 to Harbourview. They have 15 points, as do third-place Humberland, who yesterday got 3 points by beating Cavalier SC 1-0. Meanwhile, Tivoli are 4th, yesterday advancing with a 1-0 win over Rivoli United. And also this evening, we'll see the Western Sports-sponsored Business House five-a-side semi-finals being contested. At 6:30 p.m. Peak Bottling face Connex, and Scotiabank Group A meet Spanish Grain Stores to decide the finalists for Division 1. Then for D2 at 7:30 p.m., Restaurant of Jamaica clash with Tasty, and Scotiabank Group B play Urban Development Corporation UDC. As for today's Isaflow Manning Cup action, latest scores saw Excelsior High having added 2 goals to their 3-1 halftime advantage versus Calabar in their quarterfinal encounter. Therefore, the score was 5-1. Still on football, yesterday's Sherwin-Williams Women's Premier League SWWPL saw Los Perfectos scoring the best win of the day, blanking Boystown FC 6-0, while Waterhouse also won by 6 goals, felling GC Foster College 7-1. In other games, Trelawney Women's FC went down 6-1 to Barbican FC, Olympic Gardens blanked Rangers 3-0, and Arnett Gardens edged St. James Women FC 3-2. Defending champions Barbican lead the tables with a perfect 18 points from 6 games, followed by Waterhouse on 12 and Los Perfectos also on 12 for third with a lesser goal difference. And further afield, today's Lone English Premier League EPL encounter between Tottenham Hotspur and Aston Villa saw Villa earning a late consolation as they fell 3-1. Tottenham opened early when Moussa Dembele slotted into the bottom left corner in minute number 3. Dele Alli then doubled the lead in first half stoppage at the similar spot from centre the box. Jordan Ayew then lessened the advantage 11 minutes from the end of regular time, but Harry Kane re-established Tottenham's 2-goal lead 3 minutes into added time. By virtue of the win, Tottenham advanced to 5th on 20 points, while Villa remained bottom on 4. Manchester City lead the tables with 25 points. Second place Arsenal also have 25 points with a lesser goal difference. Leicester City have 22 points for third, and Manchester United in 4th have 21 points. Moving on to cricket, West Indies all-rounder Andre Russell is injured. Russell apparently picked up the injury during the regional side's first one-day international ODI versus Sri Lanka yesterday. According to skipper Jason Holder, the extent of the fast bowler's injury is unknown and assessment will be done in the next few days. His injury led to changes being made in the bowling lineup for yesterday's game. The Windies subsequently lost by a wicket after Sunil Narayan bagged 3 wickets to bring the side within distance of clinching a win. Captain Holder said the loss was disappointing.
It's obviously very disappointing. I thought the way we fought ourselves back into the game, to lose there in the penultimate over was very, very hard. Although we thought we were in with a chance there when we had them 9 down. It was just unfortunate that we lost Russell at that stage. I felt his overs would have been crucial on this track. And we had to make up with 2 part-time bowlers, which really didn't pay off in the end. But again, credit to the way the guys fought down to the end. And we still got the wickets from part-time bowler.
Voice there of Windies ODI captain Jason Holder. The game had seen Windies put up 159 for 6 in their limited 26 overs, after which the hosts made their target with 7 balls remaining. The sides have another 2 ODIs to play. More cricket. Jacqueline Williams will create history later this year when she becomes the first female umpire to ever officiate in the regional 4-day tournament. The 39-year-old from the Western Jamaica community of Ashton in the parish of Westmoreland will stand in the middle with international umpire Peter Nero for the 5th round match in the West Indies Cricket Board WRCB Professional League PCL regional 4-day between Jamaica Scorpions and Guyana Jaguars from December 11 to 14 at Savannah Park in Kingston. More cricket. The third test between England and Pakistan sees the touring Englishmen trailing by 12 runs on day 2. At a drawing of stumps, they were at the crease on 222 for the loss of 4 wickets after 92 overs. The Pakistan innings had seen captain Misbah ul Haq lead with a half-century of 71. Pakistan currently lead the 3-match series 1-0, winning the second test by 178 runs after a draw in the first. And the recent Sheffield Shield match between South Australia and New South Wales at Adelaide Oval saw ball tracking technology being successfully trialled. This advancement has eased fears about the use of the decision review system DRS during the upcoming day and night test between Australia and New Zealand. The pink ball used for tracking had contrasting results at the tests conducted in New Zealand some weeks before. And finally, in a track and field, last Friday saw the first payout of stipends from the Jamaica Administrative Athletics Association J3's Athletes Development Fund being issued. The revelation was made by J3's president Dr. Warren Blake, who said approximately 40 athletes benefited. There were checks drawn for 80 athletes selected by the J3s, totaling nearly $3.9 million. The program is geared towards assisting them in preparation for next year's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on Newstalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama Johns saying stay tuned as we bring to you the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by Newstalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
At 5:29, business news. The index advanced today by 905.92 points on the local stock exchange to close at 132,189.96. The junior market index advanced by 22.82 to close at 1,347.77. Market activity resulted from trading in 37 stocks, of which 22 advanced, 11 declined, and 4 traded firm. Market volume amounted to 6.3 million units, valued at over $47.6 million. Lime was the volume leader. Stocks advancing: AMG Packaging, Barita, Berger Paints, Carib Cement, Caribbean Cream, Caribbean Flavors, Caribbean Producers, Dolphin Cove, General Accident, Grace Kennedy, Honeybun, Brawlers, Jamaica Cheese, JMMB Group, Kingston Wharves, Lasco Manufacturing, Medical Disposables, National Commercial Bank, Pan Jam Investment, Proven Investments, 8%, Radio Jamaica and Scotia Group. Stocks declining: Carreras Consolidated Bakeries, Gleaner, Stock Exchange, Lasco Distributors, Lime, Mayberry Investments, Proven Investments, Sagicor Group, Sagicor Real Estate, and Scotia Investments. On the foreign exchange market, the U.S. dollar closed at $119.83, the pound $185.60, the Canadian $91.70, and the euro $132.20. That's business news.
And now we take a quick look at the weather. There is a trough across the Central Caribbean, which is expected to remain across the island and the Central Caribbean for the next 3 days. In the forecast for tonight, conditions will be partly cloudy.
To end the news, the main points. PSOJ calls for hospital and ministry officials to be held accountable for the deaths of the 19 babies.
Damian Crawford says he will not apologize for his political approach.
Police superintendent denies suggestion of a cover-up in Tivoli.
And a Tivoli inquiry reveals that gunmen from Grandspen may have been killed after demanding part payment for defending Christopher Dudas Coke.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on News Talk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.